Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. I've long wanted to do an exclusive segment on the healthcare reform bill, on what it means, what it says to us, what the implications are, and really getting into the fine print. But truthfully, it's very difficult to find people that have actually read it. And then if they've read it, if they don't have constitutional law experience as a context and background for reading it, they're not reading it with the full understanding of what the implications are. So it is my great pleasure to invite Michael Connelly, who has been a practicing constitutional attorney for 27 years, who's now retired but teaches and writes about it. He's a former U.S. Army captain in the military intelligence area, and he has written several books. Riders in the Sky, The Ghosts and Legends of Philmont Scout Ranch in New Mexico, The Mortar Men, Winds of Merit, and Amayeli, A Story of America. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Michael Connelly to It's Rainmaking Time. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Kim. I'm glad to be here.
Let me just say this to you. Before we actually get into the detail of the final bill, I want to say that it's very difficult today to talk about what has just happened because the landscape for dialogue has already been set. If you're for it or against it, if you're Republican or Democrat, if you like or dislike the president or Nancy Pelosi, and therefore when all that is in the mix, the average person has an inability to hear the fine print. The other problem with looking into this is that it's one thing to have rhetoric and dialogue about it, but 99.999% of the public has not read it and has no clue and are relying on other people to translate, and those people don't have constitutional background and training like you. So with that said, bring us into the detail of what does this final bill do, what does it mean, and what are we all really going to be dealing with, no matter what area of politics we find ourselves in terms of a camp?
Well, basically, I have said from the beginning, since I read the first bill, which was House Bill 3200, and I have read every one that's been introduced since then, and am still going through. I've gone through it once, but I'm still going through the one that's actually been adopted. But like I said from the beginning, I don't think this is really even about health care. This is about control. This is about a transfer of power, a massive transfer of power to the federal government. And it's taking power away from the states and away from the people. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution lays out what Congress can and cannot do. And there's nothing in there about health care. There's nothing that says Congress can take control of health care and take it away from the states or can interfere in my relationship and your relationship with our physicians. But that's what's being done by this bill. It's basically transferring a massive amount of power to the executive branch of government so the President of the United States and the people he appoints can control every aspect of health care in this country. They are going to decide what type of insurance people are going to have. They're going to force people to buy insurance, right now from private companies, but eventually the scenario here is to lead to the government pretty much put the private companies out of business, and there'd be nothing but government-run health care. There is nothing in the Constitution, there is nothing in the Commerce Clause of the Constitution that authorizes the Congress of the United States or the President of the United States to tell people in this country, simply by virtue of the fact that we live here, to tell us that we have to go out and buy something. Now, people will say, oh, but what about the automobile insurance, liability insurance? That's a different ballgame. Number one, that's the states that do that. And number two, if you don't own a car, if you don't drive, if you choose not to drive and use public transportation, you don't have to have that insurance. So there is a choice there, and it's also run by the states. The 10th Amendment to the Constitution reserves power to the people and to the states that Congress does not have. Congress is basically has now taken away a lot of the power from the states and from individuals and is going to put it in the hands of the federal government. We are going to be told what type of insurance we have to have. It has to be approved by the government Some bureaucrat is going to approve it. And if we don't get the insurance, or we don't get the insurance that's approved by the government, we can be fined. Now, they call this a tax, but the reason they're calling it a tax is, number one, they want the IRS to handle it. They're going to be 16,500 new agents to handle collection of this tax. But number two, they're trying to avoid the due process clause of the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution that says that there has to be due process before your property can be taken. Ultimately, people could even go to jail for not having this insurance. This, to me, is something that is really trampling on the rights of individuals in this country, and it's a very scary scenario. And the bottom line about the bill is that there are 14 new taxes being imposed by the bill. They are going to be collected starting now. For 3 or 4 years, those taxes will be collected, but no benefits are going to be going to anybody. We're going to be paying into the system. There are going to be no benefits. The only thing that's going to happen initially, as far as health care goes, is that Medicare is going to be cut drastically.
Isn't it $40 million that was taken out of Medicare to handle this bill, the payments?
There's a massive amount that is going to be taken out of Medicare, and so there's going to be rationing of health care, particularly for seniors in this country, because they're going to have to decide what type of treatment you can have, and they're going to be interfering with what you and your doctor want to do. And see, to me, that's another violation of the Constitution, because that's a breach of contract. People have been paying into the Medicare system for years, and they've been paying into the Medicare system on the basis that when they reach age 65, they would receive the benefits for it. Now, all of a sudden, we're being told that, no, it doesn't matter that you pay into the system. It doesn't matter that you have a contract with the government. We're going to breach that contract, and we're going to take away some of your coverage. We're going to reduce what you get through Medicare, and we're going to take away some of your coverage, and there's nothing you can do about it.
The FDA has long interfered in the supplements, herb, and alternative medicine marketplace, which most of the time is never covered by health insurance companies. And so what's going to happen is it's going to create a bifurcation where you're going to have to pay for the traditional, quote, sick care. And if you want alternative or advanced anti-aging, brain care, the things that are current today that are accelerating the rate of which somebody becomes healthy or rejuvenated or revitalized, it's not part of that framework at all. The FDA has banned B6. The FDA, the pharmaceutical companies, and the insurance companies are all part of a matrix.
Well, the whole system now is going to be run by bureaucrats. I've never been a fan of health insurance companies. I used to fight them on behalf of clients when they would deny coverage and this sort of thing. But taking a system that doesn't work perfectly, that has flaws, and turning it over to the federal government, which is yet to run anything at a profit. I mean, look at, the post office, Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, it's all broke. Everything's broke. So they have never been able to successfully run anything. And now they're going to be telling the doctors and the hospitals how much they can charge, telling them what type of care they can give to individuals. And again, you're talking about supplements and this sort of thing. They're going to be even getting into the position where, for example, they're going to be telling schools what they have to feed the children. And they're going to be banning things in even offices and corporate buildings. They're going to be banning fast food. They're going to be banning drink machines and this sort of thing. They're even, by the way, and this is one thing that's in this bill that's amazing to me, they are even imposing a tax on tanning booths. So,
I saw that, and I didn't believe it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't understand why.
Well, this is the philosophy of the federal government we have right now. If it moves, tax it.